I'd like for you all to put yourself in a situation where you're on a bus. It's neither crowded nor empty, and you're minding your business. And somebody walks on the bus and decides to sit directly adjacent to you. Now, I want to give you two options. You're either going to interact with this stranger or you're going to stay silent. Now, to respond, I want you all to say, I. How many of you would not interact with this stranger? How many of you would interact with this stranger? Okay. An interesting balance. And typically people would rather not interact with this stranger. And this has some scientific background. Nicholas Epley and Juliana Schroeder, two psychologists specializing in social cognition, find that we're a little bit more reluctant to interact with people we don't know because we do a little cost-benefit analysis in our mind. We believe that solitude is a more positive experience than interacting with strangers or misunderstanding the consequences of distant social connections. And this makes sense. You don't want to end up looking like the guy on the right and the guy on the left is just going to be like, no thanks, I'll pass, let's not do this. But in my eyes, however, reaching out to a stranger is a very enriching experience. You learn so much about the world that you don't know when you speak with people about themselves, about their experience. So, how would we go about this process? Well, first and foremost, you should know that yes, it is very worth it. Nicholas Epley and Juliana Schroeder also found that those who interacted with people they don't know came out of it feeling overall more positive about themselves, about that experience, about that exchange. So, let's start. What's your name? Where are you from? Where do you go from here? Many individuals have their own means of going further beyond this. But personally, I find that one question never fails to ignite a good conversation. Simply ask them, any good burgers lately? Okay, so a little bit of context. For a couple of years now, people have known me as the burger guy. Frankly, I'm obsessed with them. I run an entire Instagram account dedicated to posting about them. Yes, it's my thing. I love them. In my eyes, they're the perfect creation. You got bun, cheese, beef, sauce, veggies, another bun. All together, you take a bite, and it's like taking a bite of a book. You get so much information. It's incredible. Why go to Duke when you could just eat a burger? I mean, right? So, burgers are so ubiquitous that you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in the United States who hasn't at least tried a burger. They're our thing. Burgers are America. America is a burger. So, what does this tell us? Well, first and foremost, that we are pretty unhealthy as a society. Welcome to America. Is that any surprise anymore? But more than that, it tells us that burgers are so ingrained within our society that you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't at least tried a burger. So, maybe you're from Durham. Maybe you're a local. Then that burger might come from Bull City Burger or Burger Batch or, of course, a long-standing institution in the city, King's Sandwich Shop. Or maybe you're from California and the thought of a double-double animal style at In-N-Out always runs through your mind. Maybe you're from the very southeastern corner of Nassau County on Long Island and All-American Drive-In is your place. Or maybe you're from what you consider to be the middle of nowhere Kansas, Salina, to be exact. Well, the Cozy Inn, that's where you're going. Or maybe you're from Minnesota, and the thought of an ooey gooey, juicy Lucy is incredible and always runs through your mind. Or perhaps you're from New Mexico. Green chili cheeseburgers remind you more of home than anything else. Or maybe you're a student, say, at the University of Michigan. Why would you go there? Maybe you're studying over there, or maybe you're a professor in Ann Arbor. Then Crazy Jim's Blimpie Burger would be the place to go. And fun fact, Duke University's own President Price has found his favorite burger at this Crazy Jim's. What's not to love? It's because of the affinity that we have for burgers that I feel we're all brought a little bit closer together as Americans. And what's awesome about this as well is that there are so many types of burgers out there that, depending on your diet, maybe you are vegetarian or vegan. That doesn't matter. There's a burger out there for you. We've progressed so far that we can have an Impossible Burger, a virtually exact replica of a burger that comes hauntingly close to the real thing while being completely vegan. Or maybe you don't like the taste of meat. Then go for a veggie burger. Black bean, chickpea burger, all up to you. Now, I do want to get a sense of demographics in the room, because at this point you're probably thinking, Alex, the burger guy, he's kind of crazy. But I want to get a sense of who's here. So, if you were born outside of North Carolina, I want you to say I.
I.
If you were born outside of the United States, I would like you to say I.
I.
If you identify as a racial minority, I want you to say I.
I.
If you identify as a religious minority, I want you to say I.
I.
If you identify as a sexual minority, I want you to say I. If you have eaten a burger before, I want you to say I. Ain't it beautiful? Ain't it wonderful? And it's because we have these associations and affiliations with burgers that I consider it to be a beautiful thing. They bring us together. And no matter where someone is from, they're going to likely have eaten a burger before. No matter where someone is coming from, the fact that they're in America likely means that they've had a burger before. Maybe they're from outside the United States and they're coming here to find a new home, fleeing persecution, fleeing violence. There are more people coming to America than ever before. And unfortunately, there are many individuals here that have this sense of xenophobia ingrained within their minds, that people coming from outside shouldn't belong here. This, I find, is counterintuitive to what America is. No matter where someone is from, they're here for opportunity. We need to welcome them with open arms. We need to respect them and the fact that they ended up here, right beside us. And it's burgers that I feel bring us all together, because if they're here, they're going to have had a burger. It's what America is. This is a welcome to them. Just like their home country has its own unique food that reminds them of home. America is a burger, and burgers are a reminder that this is a place where they will find comfort and solace despite being so far away from what they know. So, burgers. Amazing. But the fact that we have so many memories associated with them is what, in my eyes, make them so profound. So, I want to tell you a bit of a story. In 2018, I was working at a supermarket. It was awesome. My official job title was foodie. It was incredible, amazing. All I did was I dished out samples to serve to customers coming in. And a man comes in, and he's wearing a Red Sox cap. And I'm from New York, so this isn't going to fly. No, no. No, no, no. And so I say, "Oh, Red Sox fan, huh?" And he says, "Oh, you got a problem with that, Sonny?" And so we get to talking, and I hear an accent in his voice. And I figure he's got to be from the Northeast. And so I ask, "Oh, where are you from?" He says, "You wouldn't have heard of it, middle of nowhere, Massachusetts." And in my mind, I already have a list. This is a personal list that I put together of burger joints throughout the United States. This is always running throughout my mind. So if you say there's not a good burger out where you're from, I can point to this and say, "Huh, really? Are you sure?" But he says, "Oh, middle of nowhere, Massachusetts." So my mind starts rolling, thinking, oh, where in Massachusetts? And I ask him, "Oh, but what city?" He says, "Oh, you wouldn't have heard of it, a little town called Springfield." And so I say, "Springfield? Whoa." And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's a place in Springfield. I was just in Springfield visiting colleges with my father, passing through. Within the city, there's an institution by the name of White Hut that's come to cater to Springfield citizens for decades now. Been around since 1939. If he's from Springfield and he thinks that's the middle of nowhere, imagine his face when I tell him that I've been to White Hut. And so I bring it up, knowing that this was the connection that I needed. I say, "White Hut, have you been there?" "Of course you have, because I had a cheeseburger over there, and the fact that they've been there for so long. The fact that they've been in Springfield for so long It's incredible. It's amazing. A cheeseburger with fried onions? What's not to love? It's incredible. I can only imagine how awesome it must have been growing up with White Hut right there. But then he goes silent. He says, White Hut, that's where I met my wife. But that's the thing. His wife had passed away 2 months before we had met. So he starts breaking down in tears and crying and sobbing and bawling. And I'm there holding him in my arms and hugging him and saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And he stands there crying for half an hour. And then he walks away. And so I'm left with this sense of guilt. I'm the burger guy to bring people together. This isn't supposed to happen. No, what? And for the next 2 weeks, I live with this sense of guilt over what I've done. And it just stays in my mind that I've done such a thing, and I doubt my identity as the burger guy for such a long time. Because again, this isn't supposed to happen. No. And then 2 weeks later, I'm working that same shift, and he comes back in again. And so I go up to him to apologize, because again, I want to express my apologies for doing what I did. And I say, sir, I just want to say I'm so sorry for all of this. I didn't mean to move you to tears. I didn't mean to bring back such terrible memories. I wanted to build a connection. I wanted you to feel like you were less alone over here. I'm so sorry. And then he stops me. He grabs my shoulder, and he says, no, thank you. Bringing up White Hut had allowed him to reflect back on the relationship that he had with his wife, to take a look at how amazing and profound it was, how something that began at this Springfield institution had lasted for decades, that a relationship that had brought him children and grandchildren and a whole lifetime of memories that he would never forget. Looking back on it, he thought that this right here, I'll never get to experience it again. But the fact that I did, with her by my side, that I'm grateful for, and I'll never forget that. And so he said, thank you. And he said, the Red Sox are still better than the Yankees. Next season, sucker. And so this is all to say that burger joints can be a way for you to identify with the place, can allow you to feel less alone, especially if you know one that someone else thinks that no one else knows. And that's why I love being the burger guy. Because regardless of who you are, racially, religiously, sexually, gender-wise, there's a burger out there for you. Truly, really. And so if you eat a burger, that is a way of identifying yourself with a place, with a community. And if somebody else is from that community or even beyond that community, and they know about that burger, that allows you to feel less alone. But more than this, it allows you to hear a story about themselves, about where they're from, about what they've lived through. And more than being the burger guy, I'm a sucker for stories. I live vicariously through the experiences and the tales that one has to tell about themselves and how they somehow arrived right beside me. A whole treasure trove of tales just waiting to be expressed out loud. Let's take the time to listen to more of these stories. Let's see what we can learn when we establish the connection at the onset and build upon it. You never can tell what you might learn when you reach out to someone with curiosity on your mind. All it takes is having the courage to learn more about them, to have the courage to reach out. Maybe it's out of the blue, but that doesn't matter. You're curious. You want to know. All it takes is one question. For me, that question is any good burgers lately? And after this, I hope for you, it will also be any good burgers lately. You can never really tell what connections you might build with one simple question. You can never tell how profound an impact you might have on an individual will be when you just ask with curiosity on your mind. Any good burgers lately? It's so much more than something about food. Any good burgers lately is about someone else, about a story, about life. Let's take the time to listen to these stories and to live these lives that we haven't lived before. You never know what you might learn when you reach out and ask. So, let me ask you, any good burgers lately? Thank you.